Yes, brothers and sisters, brethren and sistren, we're going to go into this new lesson right now. We're going to call this one the nation of Israel, the wife of Christ, right? And this will also be a breakdown of Genesis 3 verse 16, right? But before we get into the lesson, we're going to read a couple precepts, right? And this will help us to understand the lesson when we get into it, right? The first precept I want to read is Psalms 119 verse 160, right? Psalms 119 verse 160. Thy word is true from the beginning, and every one of thy righteous judgment endureth forever, right? So the Most High is saying his word is always going to be true from the beginning, right? Meaning it's never going to change, right? He's not going to send Moses to the children of Israel to tell them one thing, right? And then later on send Jeremiah in the future and he come and say something completely different, right? Everything was written down in the beginning and it's going to stay that way all throughout eternity, right? All the prophet you read of in this book, when they come, they just repeat what was said over in the beginning, right? Okay, that's it. His word is always true from the beginning. His word is never going to change, right? The next precept we want to go to is Isaiah 46, right? Isaiah 46, and we're going to start at verse 8, right? Isaiah 46 verse 8. Remember this, and show yourselves men. Bring it again to mind, O ye transgressors, right? So, for the past sins of this nation that happened in the past, how do I bring it back again to mind? I go back and I read the history of it, right? That's how I bring it back to mind, right? Verse 9. Remember the former things of old. And again, how do I remember the former things of old? I go back and I read the history of it, right? That's how I remember, right? 9 again. Remember the former things of old. For I am God and there is none else. I am God and there is none like me, right? And verse 10 is gonna show you why there is no God like this, the God of Israel, right? Verse 10. Declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand and I will do all my pleasure, right? Declaring the end from the beginning. As we read in Psalms before, his word is true from the beginning, right? So I don't even have to go to the end of this book to see how it all ends, right? Moses tell you how it ends, right? And every prophet after that tell you how it ends, right? Okay, so it was told to us how it was gonna end all the way in the beginning, right? Declaring the end all the way in the beginning. And just as how the Most High say it's gonna go down in the end, that's exactly how it's gonna go down. Nothing is gonna change that. No matter how many bombs or how many guns out there, it's gonna go down the way the Most High told us in the beginning it was gonna go down. Declaring the end from the beginning. All right, the next one, and as I said, this will help us to understand the lesson when we get into it, right? Okay, so the next one we're going to go to is Hosea 12 and verse 10, right? Hosea 12 verse 10. I have also spoken by the prophets, and have multiplied visions, and have used similitudes by the ministry of the prophets, right? So use similitudes by the ministry of the prophets, right? Okay. Say the Most High choose a prophet today to speak to the children of Israel today, but that prophecy is not gonna be fulfilled till in the future, right? Even though in the future the technology might change, everything might be different, or the way Our transportation might be different from what you see today, but the prophet that he sent today is going to use what he's familiar with today to try to describe what's going to come in the future, right? That's why it said use similitudes. Use something similar today to describe what's coming in the future, even though it might be totally different, right? A perfect example is Ezekiel. When you read Ezekiel 1, right? When it's prophesying of the Most High coming to earth, right? And the transportation that the Most High used to come to earth, right? He called it a wheel that was inside of another wheel. That's how we describe it, right? Because he was familiar with the horse and carriages of its time, right? So the only thing that he looked even close to what he was looking at was a wheel that was on a wagon, right? So he called it a wheel with inside of a wheel, right? And he said the wheel don't go like regular wheel. They were on their side, right? And he said there was eyes all around it, which we could see today's portals or windows, right? And again, the prophet have to write it down, even though he's using what's in his time. So when future generation read it, they can understand what he's describing in the future, right? So he called it a wheel inside of another wheel, right? Okay. So a wheel inside of another wheel will look something like this. But he said it don't go like regular wheel. They go up on their side with the portals all around it. So it would look something like this right here that he was describing, right? And it's funny because he said in around like at 17 or 14 verse, I mean, I'm not going to read it, right? You could go read it yourself, right? It said they look not when they went, right? Meaning if I'm driving a car today, all right, or back in his days when the horse and carriage, right? If I want to go to the right, I'm going to either pull the horse this way, or I'm going to turn the steering wheel this way and the front go that way. But he said these things don't look where they're going. They just go, right? And as I said, you could see YouTube video with those things, what they call UFO today, are doing the same thing that Ezekiel described, right? So he used what was in his time to describe what we call in the future today UFO, right? Okay. And the next one I want to get into before I go into the lesson is Galatians 4, right? And we're going to start at 22. And as I said, this is going to help us to understand the lesson when we get into it. Galatians 4, verse 22, right? Okay, Galatians 4, verse 22. For it is written that Abraham have two sons, right? The one by a bondmaid and the other by a free woman. But he who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh, right? But he of the free woman was by promise, right? Or by spirit. Okay. So it was promised to Abraham that he was going to have a son through Sarah, right? Sarah was getting old. She couldn't wait. So she gave Hagar, her handmaid, to Abraham, right? For him to have a child by her. The result of that was Ishmael, right? Now Ishmael in the Most High's sight will be considered a child of the flesh because that's what Sarah wanted, right? Now when the promise was fulfilled, the result of that was Isaac. Now Isaac will be called a child of the promise or a child of the spirit because that's what the Most High want, right? That's all it means. Child of the flesh, child of the spirit. It's what men want versus what the Most High want. That's just all it's saying, right? Okay, 24. Which things are an allegory, right? So Paul is telling you right here that even though that's an actual story that happened in the past, right, there was another story behind it, right? I heard another brother read this part right here, and it's, you know, he come to the his conclusion that what happened You just read that line right there. What happened over here didn't exist, because he's pointing out that Paul is saying it was an allegory, which means a story, but it does not just mean a story, right? It means a story behind a story, right? Let me look up, show you the word the meaning of allegory, right? Allegory. Hold on for a second. Allegory, right? Okay, we'll read it together, right? See the word right there? Allegory, right? Okay. A representation of an abstract or spiritual meaning through concrete or material forms. Figurative treatment of one subject under the guise of another, right? So one subject under the guise of another. So Paul was saying, even though the story that happened with Sarah, Hagar, and Abraham, right? There's a story behind it, which if he continue reading, Paul was going to explain the story behind it, right? So let's continue. 24 again. Okay. Which things are an allegory? For these are the two covenants, talking about the two women, right? The one from the Mount Sinai, which gendereth to bondage, which is Hagar. So Hagar, since she was the bondmaid, Paul is saying she represents the first covenant that was made with Israel, right? That's the story behind the story right there, right? And he also said which gendereth to bondage. So Paul is saying when the Most High made the first covenant with Israel, gender to bondage, mean Israel was destined to go into captivity, right? Because we were going to break that one, right? Because remember, the fault was with us, right? Us meaning we were flesh. We were destined to break that covenant, and we were destined to go into captivity. That's what Hagar in that story represent, right? Let's continue. For this Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answereth to Jerusalem, which now is and is in bondage with her children, right? So as I said, we were destined to go into captivity, right? So when we go on into captivity, you read it in the New Testament too, we're going to read it later. The Gentile is in our land, right? So we are in bondage, and our land is in bondage too, right? Jerusalem and her children is in bondage. That's what that's what Hagar represent, right? Okay. 26. But Jerusalem, which is above, right? Okay. Not that one over there, right? If you want the precept for this one, you have to go to Revelation. New Jerusalem. I'm not talking, no building is coming down from heaven. Okay. New Jerusalem, which come down out of heaven from God. This is the one it's talking about, right? Let's read it again. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all, right? Okay, I know what's being said out there, right? You have some people who say Africa is the motherland, right? And we have brothers out there will say, no, Israel is the motherland. And then they'll read this scripture right here, right? They will read this one right here and say, no, see, Jerusalem is the motherland. But it's not talking Jerusalem over there, right? This is talking in New Jerusalem when we are all immortals. That would be the mother of us all, right? Okay. And the landmass over there, Jerusalem or Israel right now, that is in Northeast Africa, right? There's no place called the Middle East, right? It's not on the continent of Asia. It's definitely not in Europe, right? It's on the continent of Africa. It's Northeast Africa, right? So Africa will be the motherland, if you want to put it, right? Because we were promised the land of Canaan. That's the grandson of Ham, right? Okay, let's continue. For it is written, verse 27, for it is written, rejoice thou barren that bearest not, and break forth and cry, thou that travailest not. For the desolate hath many more children than she which hath an husband, right? 28, now we, brethren, as Isaac was, are the children of the promise. Yes, because the Most High chose us to be his people. He didn't choose other nation to be his people, right? Just us, right? So everyone is not a child of God, as everybody want to claim, right? Okay. 29. But as then he that was born after the flesh, right, persecute him that was born after the spirit. Say the right word right there. Even so it is now, right? So see what the scripture is saying right there? The people who God chose will always be persecuted in this time. Now, who are the most persecuted on this planet? Right? That's why the Bible said, this be a record with our spirit that we are the children of God, right? We are the most persecuted on the planet right now, okay? Verse 30. Nevertheless, what saith the scripture? Cast out the bondwoman and her son, for the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with the son of the free woman. And we know that's in reference to Ishmael, what happened back then, right? Cast Ishmael out, right? Because he will never get the inheritance of Israel, right? Okay, so Ishmael was just cast out of the inheritance, meaning there was no promise made to the Ishmaelites, right? But we're going to go into it. This also represents a nation of people that was just completely cast out, right? Meaning the world to come, they will have no part in it, right? And I'm going to show you that too later on in this lesson, right? So let's get into the lesson right now. Remember I said this is also going to be a breakdown of Genesis 3 verse 16. So let's go to Genesis 3 verse 16, right? Genesis 3 verse 16, right? Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee, right? No, we know the Most High didn't create man to be out there dominating over no woman. That's not what it's talking about, right? Woman was created for a help to man, as I said before, right? These are actually events, right? That's why the Most High tell you precept must be on precept, and Paul show you that most of these stories, there's other stories behind it, right? So I'm gonna tell you the story behind this, right? This verse right here. Yes, it was an actual event with Eve, the serpent, and Adam, right? But I'm gonna bring out to you the story behind it. Let's read it one more time. And to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow, right? So as time goes by, this woman's sorrow, our pain will get worse, right? Okay. And thy conception, right? Okay, conception, right? The act of giving birth, right? Whether it's the birth of a child or the birth of a nation, right? This woman will be going through a lot of pain, right? Multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, right? So in the process of giving birth, this woman will be going, as I said before, will be going through a lot of trouble, right? And thy desire shall be to thy husband, and with all this trouble, this woman desire will be to her husband, right? And he shall rule over thee. Eventually this woman husband will rule over her, right? So This is the beginning of the book right here, right? We read the scripture before. His word is true from the beginning, right? He declares the end from the beginning, right? So this woman that's going through all this pain right here, right? In the beginning, we're going to go to the back of the book to try to find out, to understand who this woman really is, right? So we're going to go to Revelation 12, right? Revelation 12, and we're just going to read 1 and 2. Revelation 12, 1 and 2, right? And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars, right? And she, being with child, travailed in birth and pain to be delivered, right? So this woman, right, with the crown of 12 stars, right, with the moon under her feet, and she was clothed with the sun, right? This woman is going through pain to be delivered, right? We read over in Genesis, this woman, you know, in her conception, she'll be going through sorrow, right? But we have to go back to the beginning of the book to find out who this woman is, with the clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars, right? So now we're going to go to Genesis 37, right? Genesis 37, and we're going to start from verse 3. Genesis 37 verse 3, right? Genesis 37 verse 3. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him, and could not speak peaceable unto him. And Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it to his brethren, and they hated him yet the more. And he said unto them, Hear, I pray you, this dream which I have dreamed. For behold, we were binding sheaves in the field, and lo, my staff arose and also stood upright. And behold, your staff stood round about and made obeisance unto my staff, right? So their staff was bowing down to his staff, right? And his brethren said unto him, Shalt thou indeed reign over us, or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? So his brothers, they understand the dream, right? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words, right? Verse 9. And he dreamed yet another dream, and he told it to his brethren. And he said, Behold, I dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance unto me, right? We read over here that this woman was clothed with the sun, and the moon was under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. But right here it said 11 stars, right? But Joseph is the one that have the dream. He would made up that 12 stars, right? Because remember, at this time in Genesis, Jacob have 12 sons, okay? Let's continue. Verse 10. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this that thou hast dreamed, right? Shall I, right? So Jacob his father, understand the dream clearly. This is what his father said. Shall I and thy mother and thy 11 and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to the earth? So Jacob at this time understand that he represent the sun, right? Rebecca represent the moon, and the 11 stars were his brothers, right? So this woman that we read over in Revelation with the crown of 12 stars upon her head is talking about the nation, because this is where the 12 tribes of Israel started, right? the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes that make up that nation, right? So when you go over back to Genesis 3:16, that's the allegory behind the actual event, the story. Okay, Adam at that time represent Christ, right? And Eve is representing the nation of Israel in that story back there, right? Okay, let's continue, right? So the next one we're going to go to is Isaiah 26, and we're just going to read 17. Isaiah 26 verse 17, right? Isaiah 26 verse 17. Okay. Like as a woman with child that draweth near the time of her delivery, is in pain and cry out in her pangs, so have we, talking about the nation of Israel, this is the prophet Isaiah, so have we been in the sight of the Lord, right? So Isaiah is saying, he's a prophet, so this is the Most High word. So it's the Most High looking at this nation, right? And we see this nation, because they're always going through trouble. It's like a woman in the delivery room, right? About to give birth and start crying because of the pain. So the Most High look at this nation, because we're always going through trouble. Remember, in the beginning, because his word is true from the beginning, this woman will always be going through pain, and her pain will be multiplied, right? And later on, I'm going to explain how this woman pain is multiplied even to this day, right? Talking about the nation of Israel, right? Okay, pain to be delivered. We're going to get into that too, right? The next precept we're going to go to, right, is Micah 4, and we're going to read 9 and 10. Micah 4, 9 and 10, verse 9 and 10. All right. Micah 4, 9 verse 10, right? Now why doest thou cry out aloud? Is there no king in thee? Is thy counsel perish? For pangs have taken hold of thee as a woman in travail. And again, this is talking about the nation of Israel. Remember, all the prophets was only sent to Israel, right? They weren't sent to no other nation, right? Okay. Be in pain and labor to bring forth. So the Most High is saying we have to go through this pain and labor to bring forth. To bring forth what? We're going to explain that in a little bit, right? Okay. As I said, conception, the act of giving birth, right? Birth of a child, a birth of a nation, right? Okay. Let's read verse 10 again. Be in pain and labor to bring forth, O daughter of Zion, like a woman in travail, right? This is God's people right here, right now. Like a woman in travail. For now shalt thou go forth out of the city, right? Again, we're going to break the first covenant. We're going to get kicked out of the land. This is what this is saying right here, right? Thou shalt dwell in the field. This is when we run down into Africa, running from the white Romans, right? Thou shalt even go to Babylon, okay? And that's how we get over here on the slave ships, right? There thou shalt be delivered. The Lord shall redeem thee from the hands of thine enemies, right? So when we get to Babylon, this modern day Babylon right now, then there will we be delivered from, right? Because remember, in the beginning, right, in Deuteronomy 28 verse 68, it was written that we're going to go into slavery by ships and be sold to our enemies, right? Okay, so the Most High said, when we're here, this is where we're going to be delivered from, okay, in modern day Babylon, right? Okay. So it said we have to go through this pain and labor to bring forth, right? Okay. And as I said, we're going to go bring forth what? We're going to talk about that in a little bit, right? So we go to Isaiah 66, and we're going to read 7 and 8. Isaiah 66, 7 and 8, right? Because this woman is laboring to bring forth, right? Isaiah 66, and we're going to read 7 to 9, right? Isaiah 66, 7 to 9, right? Verse 7. Before she travail, remember this is the nation of Israel now. Before she should travail, she brought forth. Before her pain come, she was delivered of a man-child, right? And this man-child, we know is talking about Christ, right? So before the bulk of this woman pain come, she was delivered of a man-child, right? Meaning one immortal already come out of this nation, right? So the rest of the nation have to be in pain, as we just read, to bring forth, to work, so we could become immortals too, right? Okay, remember, all the promises was only made to Israel, right? So the change of body that's coming, that's only for Israel, okay? No other nation. Yes, there'll be nation there in our kingdom living long life as long as they want to live, as long as it's under our rule. If they decided they don't want us to rule over them no more, fine, we'll escort them out, no problem, right? There will be no prison there, so we'll escort them out permanently, okay? Rule with a rod of fire, and that's just how it is, okay? Let's start from 7 again. Before she travail, right? Okay, and again, before the bulk of her pain come, and we know that started in 70 AD all the way up till this time, right? We're going to get into that also, right? Before she travailed, she brought forth. Before her pain come, she was delivered of a man-child, right? As I said, that was Christ, right? Who hath heard such a thing, right? Or who have seen such things? Shall the earth be made to bring forth in one day? Or shall a nation be born at once? For as soon as Zion travailed, she brought forth her children, right? So, can a nation be born at once? Okay, it was 70 of us that went down to Egypt, right? And 200 plus years we grow into a nation, right? Now the nation is here before his second coming. We're just scattered. So can that nation be born at once? Yes. All you have to do is gather us. The nation is already here, right? And that go even deeper than that, right? Can a nation be born at once, like in a twinkling of an eye? Yes, right? In a twinkling of an eye, we shall all be changed, right? Boom, you'll have a nation of immortals, right? That's what it's talking about, right? Because remember it said before the woman pain come, an immortal already come out of her, or of this nation only, right? No, and when you continue verse 8, at the bottom of verse 8, right, it said, as soon as we finish our pain, this woman, meaning this nation, brought forth her children, meaning when our pain is over, we will become immortal, right? Let's continue. Verse 9. Shall I bring to the birth and not cause to bring forth, saith the Lord? So the Most High say, I'm not going to let this nation go through all this pain, and when it's time for them to be immortal, I'm going to stop it, right? I'm not going to let them become immortal. No, it's not going to happen, right? This is the Most High saying this right here, okay? The middle part. Shall I cause to bring forth and shut the womb, saith the Lord? So the Most High is saying, as I said, it's just for emphasis, right? They're just the same thing, but he's saying he's not going to let us go through this pain, and when the time come for the promise that he promised us to make us immortals, he's going to change his mind. It's not going to happen, right? There's a reason why we're going through this pain, through this slavery, okay, the lynching, right, the Jim Crow, the police brutality. There's a reason why we're going through this, right? Because this nation eventually right, we are going to be immortals, right? Okay, the nation of Israel only, right? Let's continue. Now let's go to Isaiah, right? Because before this woman pain come, one immortal, right, which we know of right now, come out of this nation, right? It was out of the nation of Israel, right? It was one that was chosen from among us, right? So now we go to Jeremiah 4, and we're going to read 31. Jeremiah 4 verse 31, right? One immortal already come out of this nation, right? Jeremiah 4 verse 31, right? For I have heard a voice of a woman in travail, and the anguish of her that bringeth forth her first child, right? So the anguish of her that bringeth forth her first child, right? So when Christ was born, right, the Edomites, which were Arad, right, they find out through the wise men about the Christ child, right? And they try to kill him, right? So them trying to kill him, they were killing all the babies 2 years and under at that time, right? So this nation go through some anguish when she bring forth this first child, right? Remember, her pain is gonna be multiplied. Okay, let's read that again. For I have heard the voice of a woman in travail and in anguish, as of her that bringeth forth her first child, right? Remember, we're talking about the nation of Israel right now, and we know when Christ was a baby what was going on. The angel have to send them into Egypt to hide, right? They were killing every babies, right? Okay, so she, at this time, the woman go through some anguish, right? Remember, her pain is gonna be multiplied, right? The voice of the daughter of Zion bewailed herself and spreadeth her and saying, woe is me, for my soul is wearied because of the murderers. So at the time, remember, everything was told to us from the beginning, right? The murderers was giving this woman anguish at this time, as I say, right? Herod the king, right, the king of the Jews, he called himself this time, right? We're gonna get into that, right? Is not the king of the Israelite. It was king of the fake white Jews, the converts, right? We're gonna get into that too, right? Okay, so because of the murderers, right? Let's continue. We're gonna get back to that. Okay, this woman's soul was weary because of the murderers, right? All right, now let's go to Revelation 12. Revelation 12, again, this time we're going to start from verse 13. Revelation 12 verse 13, right? And when the dragon, okay, another name for the murderers, and when the dragon saw that he was cast out onto the earth, remember, as I mentioned before, see, Ishmael was cast out of the inheritance, right? That's just it, meaning even in the next world to come, Israel will have his part in there, but as servants, right? Okay, but these murderers are the most, I call them dragons sometimes. It's a race of people. They are completely cast out. Listen to this, right? And when the woman saw that he was cast out unto the earth, he persecute the woman which bring forth the man child. So, and we know this is in 70 AD, right? So this dragon, when they find out, I don't know when they find out, right? But it said when they find out that they were cast out, okay, they persecuted the woman that bring forth this man child, that bring forth this immortal, right? So they persecute the nation of people that this immortal come out of, and we know it's Israel, right? Okay, let's continue forward. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, right? This is when we run down into Africa, right? When Christ give us the warning to flee to the mountains, which is in Africa. We run down into Africa, right? And the great wings of an eagle mean we have to leave in haste, right? We're going to get into that later on too. Okay, into her place where she is nourished for a time. Okay, 1 and times 2.5 at times, right? So that's 3.5 from the face of the serpent, right? The serpent and the dragon, same race of people, right? Okay, you could read of the serpent back in the beginning too. Same race of people, right? Okay, so this dragon was cast out, right? Okay, and we read over before we come over here in Jeremiah 4 verse 31, right? That this woman, okay, that went through this anguish when she bringeth forth the first child, right? Her soul was weary because of the murderers, right? So okay, so since everything was told to us in the beginning, we're going to go to the beginning right now to find out who was cast out, right? And who are the murderers, right? Okay, so we're going to go to Genesis 4, right? Genesis 4. Genesis 4, and we are going to start from 8, right? Genesis 4 verse 8. And Cain talked with Abel his brother. And it came to pass when they were out in the field, right? And it doesn't go into too much detail what they talk about, but you know, all of a sudden they're out in the field or in the woods. Common sense, he probably lowered his brother out into the woods, knowing he's gonna kill his brother, right? You know, probably pretending like he's a loving, caring brother, just to go kill his brother, right? So he would be the first deceiver right here, right? Or the first devil, right? And Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him, right? Okay, so it's the first deceiver and the first murderer we read from in the beginning, right? Okay, and the word devil just means deceiver, right? So he's the first deceiver and the first murderer, right? Okay, the first devil and the first murderer. Verse 9. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood cried unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth. Remember, read that the dragon, when they find out that they were cast out into the earth, they were meaning the next world to come, they're having no part, right? Since everything was told to us in the beginning, right? And we know of Christ. We're gonna go back to the New Testament to tie this up, right? 11 again. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive the blood, thy brother's blood from thy hands. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth heal unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond thou shalt be in the earth, right? So when you till the ground, when this race of people till the ground, it will not heal her strength to her, right? To this nation. That's why they have to come up with GMO, genetically engineering food, because they cannot be out there in the field working, right? You see what the scripture is saying right here? The reason why the earth won't heal or strength to them, because they can't be out there a long time in the field working. For stuff to grow and grow good, you have to be out in the field working, right? From the beginning, right? And a fugitive, right? They shall be, right? Running from their crime, right? Okay. And a vagabond, meaning they have no homeland. That's why every place this race are on the planet, the land don't belongs to them, right? Stolen land, right? A fugitive and a vagabond thou shalt be in the earth, right? Okay. And as I said before, when they till the ground, it won't heal their strength. It's strength to them, right? Okay, this is why they need slaves, right? They can't really survive without slave labor, right? Okay, everything was told to us from the beginning, right? Now, this is, and we know Christ is not lying, right? Let's go and read John 8. We're gonna start from 31. Okay, right? Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. John 8 verse 31, right? Okay, let me explain this before I even start this part right here. See, most of the time when you read the New Testament and it's talking about and the Jews and the Jews and the Jews and the Jews, those are talking about white people, right? Remember, Herod was a white man in the land calling himself the king of the Jews, right? First of all, no Israelite recognized Herod at that time as their king. That's why he was so vicious to us, right? He was the king of the Jews who were living there, the Edomites, the white Jews that were converts. I'm going to use history to prove that to you when I finish reading this right here, right? Okay, you know what, let's do it before. Okay, see how you get these white Jews in the land. We're gonna go to this it's the book of Josephus, right? Excuse me, it's the book of Josephus, right? We are gonna go to Antiquities of the Jews, right? And we're gonna chapter 9, Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 9, and we're gonna go down to paragraph 257, right? Paragraph 257. Here, I'll have you read it with me, all right? Hold on. I'll have you read it with me, right? Okay. 257, right? Where the underlining start. We're going to start from there, right? Icranius took also Dora and Marissa, right? Cities of Idumea, and that's just a Greek name for the Edomites, right? And subdue all the Idumeans and permitted them to stay in that country, right? If they would circumcise their genitals and make use of the laws of the Jews, right? And they were so desirous to live in the country of their forefathers that they submitted to the use of the circumcision and the rest of the Jewish ways of living. At which time, therefore, it befall them that they were hereafter no other than the Jews. So these Edomites, okay, these converts start calling themselves Jews. And remember, this is in the Greek rulership, right? We're going to see what Christ was talking to in the Roman rulership. And we know the Greek rulership comes before the Roman rulership, right? So from that time on, they were calling themselves Jews, right? They were calling themselves Jews. Now, another book, right, that talk about their conversion and them start calling themselves Jews is this book right here, right? The Jews in their land, right? Okay, and we're gonna go to see if I could find the page 138, right? Page 138. Okay, page 138. We're just gonna read this little part right here, right? Page 138. Here we go. Okay, now this is south of Judah, what today is called Petra, right? In ancient time it was called Mount Seir. And you see those style of, the peoples who live in caves, see those style of building they have in the caves. I mean, just like the building they make today, right? Roman style building, right? This is what it said. Of particular importance was the expansion to the south. The whole of Idumea, Edom, became part of Judea, and in its inhabitants were converted to Judaism. From then on, the Idumean were an inseparable part of the Jewish nation, right? Meaning in Christ's time, they were there calling themselves Jews, right? And their leading families occupy a position of authority in the Hasmonean state, right? So yes, that's why in places of power, right? That's why you'll have an Edomite in a land of black people, a white man in the land of the black people calling himself king of the Jews, right? He wasn't king of the Israelite, right? So now when we go to John 8 verse 31, we're going to see who Christ was talking to, right? Because I know, because it said Jews, 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 it's not talking about Israelite half the time. It's talking about the white Edomite that were converted, right? Because Christ used to speak in parable when he's out in public. His disciples said, hey, why when you're out there you speak in parable? Christ told them it's not for them, talking about the converted Edomites, right? It's not for them to understand, it's for you to understand. That's why Christ always bring them in a little circle and explain everything to them, right? Anyways, let's continue. John 8 verse 31, right? Then said Jesus to those Jews which believe on him, if ye continue in my words, then ye are my disciples indeed, and ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free, right? Okay. Christ know what to say to bring out what's in them, right? So listen to what they say right now, okay? They answered him, we are Abraham's seed, and were never in bondage to no man. How sayest thou, he shall be made free? Okay, will any Israelite will ever make that claim, even in Christ's time, that they were never in bondage? No, right? And you see who they claim? Abraham. Now, if an Israelite in this time, who would they claim as their father? They would claim Jacob, right, as their father. Even to this day, you notice they never claim Jacob. They always claim Abraham. Nothing is new under the sun, right? Okay. So they say they were never in bondage to no man. Okay. There is no Israelite on this planet either this day or back then who would ever make that statement, because we know we were in Egypt as slave, right? And when the Most High deliver us out of Egypt, every time we mess up, he throw it in our face. Hey, you're a slave in Egypt and I free you. So we would never make that claim, right? These were the white converts, right? Let's continue. 34. Jesus answered them, verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever commits sin is a servant of sin. And the servant abideth not in the house forever. Remember, everything was told to us from the beginning. The elder shall serve the younger, right? And the servant is not going to abide forever. Remember, they were cast out. Okay, read it again. And the servant abided not in the house forever, but the Son abided forever. The sons of God, the people who God chose, right? Let's continue. If the Son therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. I know you are Abraham's seed. Yes, because they did come out of Abraham, right? It was Abraham, Isaac, Esau, and Jacob, right? They are descended from Esau. So yes, they did come out of Abraham, but they never claimed Jacob, okay? Because they know they don't come out of Jacob, right? But he seek to kill me, because my words are no place in you. Again, another clue. Would Christ ever say that about an Israelite? He showed his word unto Jacob, right? And he sent the prophet to Israel, right? But his word has no place with these Edomites, because he's telling them the truth, just like today, and they're trying to kill him, right? Let's continue. I speak that which I have seen with my Father, and he do that which ye have seen with your father. Christ just made another distinction right there, right? I know we read and we just read over this stuff just to read, right? Okay. Christ said, I speak what I see my Father do. You're trying to do what your father do, right? Let's continue. They answered and said unto him, Abraham is our father. There they go again, always claiming Abraham. Abraham is our father. Jesus said unto them, if ye were Abraham's children, ye would do the works of Abraham. But now ye seek to kill me, a man that I told you the truth. And again, the same thing today. You tell them the truth today, they want to kill you. The truth to them is very racist to them. They will tell you that that's racism when you tell them the truth, right? Which I have heard of God. This did not Abraham, right? So you're saying you guys out there claiming Abraham. Abraham wasn't out there trying to murder people and steal people's stuff, right? And convert into, think they could be another man's nation or something like that, like what they're doing, right? Okay. 41. Ye do the deeds of your father. There Christ go again. You're doing the deeds of your father, trying to kill, murder all the time, right? Remember, read the first murderer from the beginning, right? Okay. The first devil, meaning deceiver, right? Okay. Then said they unto him, we be not born of fornication, for we have one Father, even God, right? So they kind of get what Christ is saying right there, right? So they said, we be not born of fornication. We are not the sons of the children in the beginning. You read of Cain and Tubal, Cain and Jubal, Cain and all them. They were makers of weapons. When you go back and read it, see, everything was told to us in the beginning. They like to make weapons to kill people, right? Go read it in the beginning in Genesis, right? And they love to make statues of God and sell it to people for people to bow down and worship in, right? So they're saying we are not the people of those people who were doing there was fornicators worshiping false God, right? Let's continue. 42. Jesus said unto them, if God were your father, you would have loved me, for I proceeded forth and came from him. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. Why do ye not understand my speech? So Christ is saying, I'm telling you who you are. Why aren't you guys not understanding me, right? Even because ye cannot hear my word. You guys are not hearing me? Okay, so he wasn't beating around the bush, but he's gonna make it extra plain for them right now, right? 44. Ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning. See, the first devil, which was Cain the deceiver, deceived his brother because he planned to murder him. It was premeditated, right? And abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he speaketh of a lie, he speaketh of his own, right? And they do the same thing today, right? You go watch their movies, everybody's white. The Egyptians are white, the Mexicans are white, the Indians are, everybody's white, right? When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, and he is a liar and the father of it, right? Okay. So Christ is letting them know who they were. They were the and who is the devil? The devil was a murderer from the beginning, right? That was Cain. Christ is telling them they descend all the way back to Cain, the first murderer from the beginning, right? Okay. So Cain find out he was cast out, right? In Revelation, Cain was cast out, right? In Revelation, it tell you when they find out they were cast out, they will persecute the woman, right? They're murderers, right? They like to make weapons. I can't read it all, so when you go back over in Genesis, they were the one making weapons of war, right? Okay. Now let's go back to Amos, or let's go to Amos, right? The prophet Amos, right? And we're going to start 8, right? Because we read in Revelation 12 verse 13, when they find out they were cast out, they start persecuting the woman, right? And we're going to see, we're going to go to Amos, which is also called Jacob's trouble, when our troubles start, right? The book of Amos, right? And chapter 8, and we're going to start at verse or let's start at verse 9, right? And it shall come to pass in that day, saith the Lord God, that I will cause the sun to go down at noon, and I will darken the earth in the clear day, right? So we know that happened one time in history, right? And that's when Christ was crucified on the cross and he died, right? In the middle of the day, it just went boom, pitch black, right? Sun went down at noon, right? And it was a clear day, then it become dark, right? Verse 10, I will turn your feast into mourning, right? And that would be the feast of unleavened bread, right? Since he was crucified, he was the Passover lamb. That's the feast after the Passover, right? The feast of unleavened bread. And all your songs into lamentation, and I will bring up sackcloth upon all loins, and baldness upon all heads, and I will make it as the mourning of an only child. So this nation will go through a mourning state, right? And that's all the way up to this time. Remember, Judah is in mourning. Will go through a mourning state, mean no peace, right? From the oppression of these other nation. I'm gonna make it as the mourning of an only son, right? Meaning it's like a woman of one son, an only child. She loved the child, and that child dies. The anguish and the pain that woman go through, this nation as a whole will go through that pain and that suffering, right? I'm gonna make it as the mourning of an only child, right? Right? Okay. And the end thereof a bitter day, right? And it was a bitter day, right? Because remember, everything went boom, pitch black, right? And you know, then you have the white Roman soldiers be like, damn, that must be the Son of God. I mean, if you get the heathens to admit the truth, you know it was a bitter day, right? 11, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor of thirst, nor for water, but for hearing the word of the Lord. Because remember, I'm going to show you, when we flee out, it was commanded that we should take nothing with us to draw suspicion. So if, see, I'm in that time and I have all the scrolls, I can't be packing up those scrolls, leaving out to draw suspicion. And we're going to get into that, right? In 70 AD, right? Or before 70 AD, when we flee out, Christ warned us that when we go out, take nothing with us. We just run out. So we don't have the scrolls, we don't have nothing, right? So we're down with thirst. We didn't have the word of the Most High, right? That's why it was prophesied when we're in the land of our enemy. Okay, thou prepares a table for me in the land of my enemy. The table is not for food, just the word. When we're in our enemy's land, we'll get the word, right? Thou prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemy. Now we are getting back this word in their sight. You think that they don't want to have us reading this? They did not want to have us read this at one time, right? But it was prophesied, and they understand prophecy, because remember, they find out they were cast out. So before they know they have to give you back this word, they put white Jesus in there for you, right? And they put some people over there, said his people is white, to mess with you up here, right? Okay, but with all that, they take the Most High out the equation. If the Most High said he's gonna wake us up in the end, he's gonna wake us up. Nothing they can do, right? Let's continue, right? Behold, the day comes, saith the Lord, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor of thirst for water, but for hearing the word of the Most High. And they shall wander from sea to sea. That's the slave trade right there. Sea to sea mean nation to nation, right? And from the north even to the south, they shall run to and fro to seek the word of the Lord, and shall not find it, right? But it was prophesied that when we're in our land of our enemies, we will get it back, right? And this we did. We have it right here in front of us right now, right? So now let's go to Jeremiah 6, and we're going to start at 22, right? Because remember, I said this woman pain is going to multiply, right? So when Christ was born, right, and the white king Herod, right, the Edomite, you know, find out about this child, he tried to kill this child, right? And he was killing all the babies from 2 years and under, right, just to try to kill this child. He was taking no chance, kill everything, right? Now, before this nation, meaning this woman, bring forth her other children, right? This nation, right, that Herod come from, is gonna give this woman pain, talking about the nation of Israel, right? Let's go into it, okay? Because they know they have no part in the world that come. Why you think they fight so hard to keep this one? They have no part in the world that come. Jeremiah 6, and we're going to start at 22, right? Jeremiah 6, and we're going to start at 22, right? Jeremiah 6 verse 22, right? Check this out. Thus saith the Lord, behold, a people cometh from the north country, right? And we know in Jeremiah's time, who is in the north country? Who come from the north country, right? Caucasians, white people they call them today, right? Which in the Bible they're called Edomites, right? Read it again. Thus saith the Lord, behold, a people come from the north country. A great nation shall rise up from the sides of the earth. They shall lay hold on bows and spears. Remember, Jeremiah just is describing what was available in his time. Weapons, right? Lay hold of bows and spear, meaning they love their weapons, right? Today, bows and spears will be, you know, from the handgun to the automatic rifle to the missile to the, you know, what they call it, the mother of all bombs, right? Bows and spears, they come from the north country, right? Continue. They shall lay hold of bows and spears. They are cruel and they have no mercy. Now, sound familiar? They love their weapon, they're cruel, and they have no mercy, right? If this don't give it away right now, man, okay? Their voice roareth like the sea, as men of war against thee, O daughter of Zion. So these people who love their guns, love their weapons, right? Okay, and the cruel people, the Most High is telling us they come to really fight against us, right? That's why Christ tell you, when you see them fighting out there, the wars and the rumors of war in the nation, you don't even worry about that. Let them fight. The real war is against you, right? Because I don't know if you noticed, they're out there fighting with everybody, but everybody's here, right? Have their own community, right? But you're not fighting with them, but you're the only one here getting killed, right? God is telling you right there, the real war is against you, right? As I said, that's why Christ tell you, when you see them fighting out their wars and rumors of war, you don't even worry about that. Let them fight, right? Okay, let's continue. We have heard the fame thereof. Our hands wax feeble. Yes. Okay. You know, you see them on the YouTube more time, or they you know, just prance around with their weapon, how much they will never let it go, how much you can't take it away. We heard the fame of them. Our hands wax feeble because we don't have no weapons, right? Okay. And anguish had taken hold of us, and pain as a woman in travail. So these people coming from the north who's really warring against us, they are the one putting us through this pain. See what the Bible is saying? Right? Go not forth into the field, nor walk in the way, for the sword of the enemy and fear is on every side. So at this time, there's nowhere on this planet I could go, the Bible is saying, to escape their oppression, right? It said the sword is on every side, right? Okay. O daughter of my people, gird thee with sackcloth and wallow thyself in ash. Make thee mourning as for an only son. Most bitter lamentation for the spoiler. That's another name for him, right? Spoiler, right? Like spoils of war, meaning when he come into your land, he's coming to take your natural resource. The spoiler, right, shall suddenly come upon us, right? So you see right there again, this woman, when this spoiler or this enemy or these people from the north come upon us, the whole nation is gonna be like a woman who lost an only son, meaning it's gonna be just mourning for this nation, right? As I said, when you read Jeremiah, what is it? Let me go there. It's Jeremiah 4 verse. Is that it? No. Jeremiah 14 verse 2. Yeah, Jeremiah 14 verse 2. Judah mourneth, and the gates language, and the gates thereof language. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. So the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. So it's just a mourning state for us, right? All the way up to this time is called the time of Jacob's trouble, right? Okay. Right? Because the spoiler, or where you call them the people of the north, right, come upon us, right? Okay. Now let's go to Micah. Because remember, they love their guns, they're merciless, and they're cruel, right? And they come to fight against us, right? So when we go to Micah 5 and, right? Micah 5, we're going to read 1 all the way down to 3, right? Now gather thyself in troops, O daughter of troops. Remember, right? Just like how you have the daughter of Babylon, you have the daughter of troop, which are the same people. They love their armies. So over here I tell you they love their guns and they're cruel. Micah is telling you they love their armies, daughters of troops, right? Okay. He hath laid siege against us. So they come with a great army and they lay siege against us. And we know this is talking about the Roman army in the siege of 70 AD. The white Roman army in the siege of 70 AD, right? Let's continue. They shall smite the judge of Israel with the rod upon the cheek. So these people who come out of the north country, the Edomites, right, Caucasian, this is what the Bible is saying. That's why they did not want us to read this. These are the same people that was there punching Christ in the face before they crucify him. Right? Right? It's right there in the scripture. They are, let's read from 1 again. Now gather thyself in troops, O daughters of troops, right? He hath laid siege against us. Who laid siege against Jerusalem? White Romans, right? Okay. They, the white Romans, shall smite the judge of Israel with the rod upon the cheek, right? But thou Bethlehem Ephratah, thou be little among the thousands of Judah, right? So Christ come out of the worst ghetto at the time, right? Yet out of thee shall come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, and we know that's Christ, right? Who's going forth have been of old, from everlasting. See, that kind of trip up some people right there, right? Everlasting, right? The temple is not here yet, but the Bible said it's everlasting. But I can't see it nowhere yet, right? See, Christ come today and I was found worthy and my body changed, right? From that point, say come right now, from this point, I will be everlasting, right? That's all it's saying, okay? Everlasting, you know, who's going forth, right? Going forth from this point forward is everlasting, right? Okay, let's continue, right? Therefore, he will give them up, right? Talking about the nation of Israel. The Most High is going to give the nation of Israel up for a time, right? Therefore, he will give them up until the time that she which travaileth art brought forth. Then the remnant of his brethren shall return unto the children of Israel. So the remnant of his brethren, talking about Christ, will return, right? He shall give them up, right, till we go through this pain that the enemy is inflicting on us, right? Okay. Jeremiah 12 verse 7. I just have to read this part. Wasn't really part of it, but since I mentioned that, I have to read it. Jeremiah 12 verse 7, because we mentioned over here that he gave them up for a time, right? Listen to what the Most High said over here, right? Jeremiah 12 verse 7. I have forsaken my house. I have left my heritage, and we know the heritage of the Most High is the nation of Israel, right? I have left my heritage. I have given the dearly beloved of my soul into the hands of her enemies, right? So the Most High, as we read over here, is going to give us up for a time to our enemies. That's why we're here having them rule over us right now, right? And you already call the nation of Israel is dearly beloved, right? So the nation of Israel is the soulmate of the Most High, right? That your dearly beloved of your soul is your soulmate, right? And if the nation of Israel is the Most High soulmate, how do you get him loving all nation? How is that possible? If a man love a woman out there and just that woman only, so he'll go as to say, she is my soulmate. Is he telling you he want any other woman or just that one woman? Okay, well, this is what the Most High is saying right here. This nation, the nation of Israel, who is in captivity right now, that they're oppressing, who is going through those pain to become immortal, that's his soulmate, right? That's the dearly beloved of his soul, right? Let's continue, right? So Israel, right, is going to give them up for a time, right, to the enemy, right? And we're going to go to the New Testament where Christ, because remember from Genesis, we're still on this woman going through this pain, right? Okay, so now we're going to go to Luke 19 right? Luke 19. Excuse me. Luke 19, and we're going to start from 41. Luke 19 verse 41, right? And when he come near, he beheld the city, and he wept over it, right? Because something was revealed to Christ that wasn't revealed to us at the time, right? And at this time, all he could do was cry, because it wasn't permitted by the Father for him to do anything about it, right? And this is what was revealed to him. He's going to explain right now. Let's read 41 again. And when he came near to the city, when he was come near to the city, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, If thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which shall belong to thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. So Christ is saying, right, if you have to know the hell you're going to have to go through before you finally get some peace in this earth, but now they're hid from you, right? It's been hidden from you, right? That's what he's saying right there, right? And he's going to explain right now. For the day shall come upon thee, when thine enemies, and we know who the enemies was, the people who come out of the north, right? The one who sold us into slavery, as it said in Deuteronomy 28:68. We were going to be sold to our enemy for men and female slaves, right? When we go on ships, right? 43. For the days shall come upon thee, when thine enemy shall cast a trench about thee, right? So a trench mean a hole. They're going to dig a trench around you, and compass thee round about, and keep thee in on every side. So they're going to dig a trench around the city and keep you inside, meaning if you try to get out, they're going to kill you, right? And we know this happened in 70 AD. We're going to go into the history. We're going to bring it back to mind and read about it, right? And shall lay thee even with the ground. You know what lay thee even with the ground mean? They're going to kill everybody, right? And thy children within thee. So they're going to, remember, they're cruel and they have no mercy. They're coming to kill man, woman, children, pregnant woman, as you see today, right? Cruel, okay? Nothing is new under the sun. And they shall not leave thee one stone left upon another. This happened in 70 AD, right? So what's over there talking about this Wailing Wall? Right, and you have tourists going over there talking about upper room. This is the upper room, and this is the well where the angel appeared to Mary, when there was no mention of no well in the scripture when the angel appeared to Mary, right? Okay, so everything over there is fake. Okay, you're gonna believe Christ or those fake Jews over there? Christ said everything was torn down, right? Because really, the reason why they do this right here, they were erasing us out the land, right? Meaning they know in the future they're going to put their people in there calling themselves Jews, right? So there should be nothing in the land that should say in the past there was black people living here. So lady even with the ground, and not one stone left upon another. They were erasing us from there. They tried for a little bit in Egypt. They shut off the nose and the lips, right? But you could still go to Egypt with those nose and lips shut off, and you could look at the statue and go, that's a statue of a black man, right? They didn't do a good job there. But in that land, right, they completely erase us and call it the Middle East today, when it's Northeast Africa, right? Because thou knowest not the time of thy visitation. Because we didn't know all the punishment that's written in the Bible was going to come upon us at that time, right? And Christ, couldn't do anything about it, so all you have to do is cry, right? So cast a trench about us, right? We're gonna go into this history book right here, right, and read about it a little bit, right? Atlas of the Bible, right? We're going to go to page 202, right? Atlas of the Bible, page 202, right? Atlas of the Bible, page 202. All right, page 202, right? Here, we'll read it together, right? Okay. Can't read this is a continuation, right? So but we can't read the whole of it, so we're just going to read this underlining part right here, right? Okay. A certain amount of food had been smuggled into the city almost nightly during the siege, and we know this is the siege of 70 AD. This is what Christ was talking about right here. They compass us, right? But now the Romans seal off Jerusalem completely with a wall of their own made of earth, meaning they dig a trench, right? Or you made a wall of earth, you have to dig up somewhere else, right? And some 5 miles in circumference, right? So as Christ said, they compassed thee round about, right? They were circling you. From the outset of the siege, most attempting to get through the encircling line had been caught and crucified. Sometimes the daily executions reach 500, right? So when they finish with that circle, right, and they put a lockdown, right? So nothing get out, nothing get in, right? Okay. The crosses were never bare. Inside the city, starvation and disease claim a mounting toll. Bodies filled the streets and were stacked in houses. Thousands of corpses were thrown from the walls into the valley below, right? And Psalm 79 talk about that a little bit, right? Titus now focuses attention on the Antonia, right? The great fortress Herod had built next to the temple. The ram pounded away until on July 24th, Roman troops, the daughter of troops, Roman troops broke through, driving their foes before them in close fighting, right? Because they couldn't just run up in there in an all-out battle against us and fight, right? So they have to starve us out and weaken us a little bit, right? Okay. And Isaiah prophesied of that in Isaiah 14, that they weaken the nations, right? When the great timbered gate of the temple withstood the ram, they were set afire, right? Soon the fighting and the fires rages everywhere within the temple complex. Before long, the temple, one of the wonders of the Roman world, was nothing but a smoldering ruin. The surviving rebels, okay, that's what they were calling us at the time. Now we're rebels. They come in our land. Now we're rebels, right? Made a last-ditch stand within Herod's palace, right? The battering ram resumed their rhythmic works. When the legionnaires at the last broke into the refuge, they found only corpse, right? So this is what Christ was seeing, right? Herod Palace and the rest of the upper city were put to the torch. Jerusalem was a city of the dead. So remember, Christ said, you know, they're gonna come in, right, and keep you on every side, right? Keep you in on every side, meaning you can't get out. Whoever was in that city, right, was dead when that siege was over, right? We're talking hundreds and thousands of Jews, of Israelites, right? Dead, right? Okay. And from there, right, in the history book, we're going to go back to this one right here called the Jews in their land, right? Okay, because as I said, Christ prophesied about these Romans, right, that they were going to be the one bringing this nation, this pain, all the way up to the end when he returned, right? Okay. So this time in this one we're gonna go to page 160, 167, right? Page 167, right? Page 167, right? Page 167, right? Jerusalem's fate, right? Okay. And as I said before, the reason for this, they were trying to erase us out the land, and they have it written right. They have it right here in Israel what they were trying to do at that time, right? Okay. Jerusalem had been obliterated, right? Name and remembrance have to be blotted out once and for all. And you read Psalms 83 verse 1 to 6, right? This was what they were trying to do. They were erasing us from the land, because in later generation they know they're going to put white people over there saying they are God's people. That's why in 2 Thessalonians Paul said, no, they are sitting in the house of God showing themselves that they are God, right? Okay, let's continue. To ensure this, the new Roman city Colonia Aelia Capitolonia was built upon Jerusalem ruins, right? So they have to destroy how we build our houses. Now they put Roman style buildings over there, right? Okay. As a statue of the Roman god Jupiter was placed in the sanctuary, and beside it a statue of the Emperor Adrian, the god's partner on the earth. See what I'm saying? No, they go over there calling themselves God, right? Just like in the Greek time, you have his name gonna be we're gonna mention his name in a little bit, Antiochus Epiphanes, right? That means he was God on earth, right? Showing themselves that they are God, right? Okay, let's continue. The new city was proclaimed a colony, right? And you know, the colonizers, right? We know who are the colonizers today. All right, so they proclaim Jerusalem, take over the black land, now call it a colony of Rome, right? And the colonists were introduced from among the Gentiles of Palestine and elsewhere. A large part of what was formerly Judea was assigned to urban enclave, right? The city was redivided into suburbs and quarters, and its own governments were set up, complete with constitution and senate. So nothing changed under the sun, right? Just like, I wouldn't go as far as South Africa. When the whites go there, the black people was already there, which I believe is the tribe of Gad, because the Bible prophesied that in the end they were the only tribe will get back what was stolen from them, and that's happening in South Africa right now, right? But when the whites go there, and you know, they speak proudly of this, to say they go there and they write up a constitution for everybody, but there's people there, so they do the same thing everywhere they go, complete with constitution and senate and people assembly and a staff of officials, right? All Jews were expelled and forbidden to reside in the city on pain of death. So they kick us out the land, and if you try to go back in the land, you are an illegal immigrant. This is what it's saying in history right here. This is what they go all over the place and do. They go to South Africa and they steal the land from the people and make it illegal for the people of the land to own land. Nothing is new under the sun, right? Come into your land, steal your land. Now, if you try to live in your land, you are an illegal in your own land, right? Continue. The remaining of the country and capital spoke plainly, right? What Rome had done in Jerusalem, it was prepared to do throughout Palestine and even further throughout the world, which they did, right? The object was clear: to stifle the political breadth of the issue, right, or the Jews, right, the Jewish population of the land, and to make Palestine entirely a Roman country, right? Remember the vagabonds we read of in the beginning? You see them right here, meaning they don't have a homeland. They go and they steal other people's homeland, right? Let's continue. It was not enough to forbid the conduct of Jewish courts of laws and proceeding based on the canon of Israel, right? Or to liquidate any institution whose existence reflects even the slightest shadow of Jewish autonomy, right? Every tie between the Jews and their land have to be cut. This is what they were doing in 70 AD. If you're tied to the land, have to be cut, meaning they are erasing you from the land. That's the plan at 70 AD, to erase us out the land, so we could have these Edomites, Caucasian over there right now, saying they are God's people. As I said, read Thessalonians, right? That's what it's talking about. Okay? Judea had to be struck off the map. All remembrance of the Jews wiped out. Who remember the Jews today? That's why in Psalms 83 call us the hidden ones. Who remember us today as the original Jews? No, everybody see the white man over there calling himself Jews, right? Okay? And the fact that the land of the Jews did not belong to them, it don't belong to them, but to their neighbors. And the oppressor had to be proclaimed publicly, right? And yeah, everybody see them as the Jews today, right? Let's continue. Those laws apply to Palestinian Jewry alone. Elsewhere in the Roman Empire, Jews are treated more leniently, right? And Paul was born in a Roman province, right? That's why you see right here, that's why when Paul get into trouble, most of the time he pull out his Roman citizen card, right, for them to deal with him more leniently, right? Let's continue. It is true that they were denied the right of circumcision, but so was every sect. It was a total embargo and published as such. The anti-Jew decree in Palestine were decided upon by the Senate of Rome, right? Nothing is new, they do this same thing today. All following the political inference in drawing from the Jewish revolt and its repression, right? But the method of application was undoubtedly determined by Adrian, the one who says the God partner on earth, himself, and seems very much an attempt to revive the decree of Antiochus Epiphanes, right? Calling themselves gods, right? Okay? And you see them doing that today. Nobody could stop them. They're gods. They could out there and just brutalize you in front of tens and thousands of camera, and they don't think they should be punished, right? In Rome dress, it bears all the marks of the Hellenistic Caesar, right? So, as I said before, they were in 70 AD, the plan was to erase us from the land which you see today. You can't go over there and see anything black. They build up everything white, right? How come in ancient Egypt, you still could go in Egypt and see paintings and statues of the people? But in Israel, a kingdom that was after Egypt, right, you can't go there and find nothing of the people, the ancient people who was there, because they erased that stuff, right? As I said, they erase it because they want to put their people in the land, all right? You know, I want to read one more. Let me read one more before we go back into the lesson, right? And this one, we're going to go to page 73, right? Page 73, right? this is what they were doing. This was another, this is in 70 AD too, right? Confiscation of lands and vanquished nation, and they're transferred to imperial power. As I said, they go around. Remember, in the beginning, they're vagabonds, meaning they go around and steal land. Every land they have is not their own, right? Was always the common practice of Rome, right? And it's still the common practice of Rome today. Because remember, the scripture tell us that Rome will be the last power on earth before Christ's return, right? So what kingdom is America? What kingdom is England? What kingdom is Australia? What kingdom is Europe? They are all descendants of Romans, right? The Empire of Vespasian too had ordered that the whole land of the Jews be transferred into the treasury as a property of Caesar, right? Stealing land, right? But in those days, the transfer had wholly a legal, physical, and meaning. The former owners of confiscated land remain on their land as tenant and paid a special tax to the treasury. So is anything new today? Isn't this what they do today? Colonize you, then have you pay taxes, right? After Beater, the system changed. Owners were evicted wherever possible. So steal the land, get rid of the inhabitants, get rid of the natives, right? Lands not reserved for foreign colonists were sold or leased to friends and servitors of the administration. Rabbis and laymen, led by the Jewish court, refused to acknowledge a new system of ownership or the legality of any sales to a third party. The Palestinian Talmud had a vivid passage. The sons of Esau, the Romans, right? This is an history book right here. We're reading an history book, right? Are their wicked agent would go and take our fields and sell them to others, and then the new landlord would come bringing havoc with him, right? Okay, so this is what they do. They go around, they steal land and make it their own. As we read, Christ tell them they descend all the way from Cain, right? And Cain was the first murderer, right? And the vagabond, right? Okay, have no land. Okay, let's continue, right? So we read in Luke 19 right here that Christ was telling them the day is gonna come when their enemy was gonna compass them, right, round about and keep them in on every side, right? And we read a little bit about that in history, right? So we're gonna go to Luke 21, right? And we're going to start at 20. And Christ is going to give them a warning, right? When they see that happen, when they see them start making the circle, that they should get out, right? And flee into the mountains. And as I said, that's when we run down into Africa, right? Because remember, if these people coming from the north, right? We are what, well, they call us black. They call themselves white, right? So if white people are coming from the north to kill me, because they're trying to say the Jews run up into the Caucasus Mountain. Okay, so they're coming from the north to kill me, right? And then I run towards the north where they're coming from. What sense does that make? They come from the north. We run down further into Africa, all the way down to South Africa. Some of us went, right? Okay, and majority of us end up on the west coast of Africa, right? That's where they get us from, right? Let's continue. We're gonna go to Luke 21. We're gonna start at 20. Now Christ has given us a warning, right? When we start seeing them, listen to this right now. Luke 21 verse 20. And when he shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst thereof depart out, and let them not and depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. Right? Okay. So we read 20 right here, and Luke in this part saying, when we see armies, right? Because we have brothers and sisters out there waiting for some abomination of desolation to come out of the sky, to go to Jerusalem and build some temple and go in there calling themselves God. When I read in the history, they were doing that, the Romans, the white Romans, a long time ago, right? So let's see who the abomination of desolation really is. Right here it said armies. Now when we go to Mark 13 verse 14, right? Mark 13 verse 14. Let's see who the armies are. Mark 13 verse 14, right? And when ye shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, standing where ye ought not. When you see them standing around in a circle around you, that's what Christ is saying, right? Let them that read it understand, and let them that are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them that are in the house stop not go down into the house, neither enter therein to take anything out of his house. And remember, we read before in Amos, right, that we're gonna a thirst is gonna come upon us, right? So Christ is saying, when you see this, if you're on the top of your house, jump down, walk out. Don't go in your house and get anything. Don't go grab your scroll. Don't go grab, don't take any change of clothes. Just jump out and just walk out, right? Not to grab to draw any suspicion to yourself, like they see you walking out with bags of stuff. They're gonna know what's going on, right? So Christ said, just jump down and just walk out. Don't go in your house and get anything. That's how urgent it was, right? When you see them start doing this, and he called them the abomination of desolation, right? Meaning, in any country they go, it's just destruction, right? Which we see today, right? Don't get anything, just walk out, like nothing happened. Just walk past them and walk and run down into Africa, right? Don't draw no suspicion. Don't, and I think it go on, and you don't grab any clothes with you, right? So let's go back to 21 verse 20, right? So in 21 verse 20, it called them armies, right? Which we know is the white Roman armies, right? In Mark 13 verse 14, it called them the abomination of desolation, right? These armies are coming to destroy. Didn't we read that they destroyed Jerusalem down to the ground? Even both the bricks and the people were even with the ground. The abomination of desolation, right? The white Roman armies, right? Let's start from 20 again, verse 21, verse 20. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst thereof depart out, and let them not that are in the countries enter therein too, right? So if this happened and I am outside doing business, right? Okay, I come back and I see it happening. I know what Christ was talking about. Christ said, if I'm coming back and this happened, don't even go back in, just turn around and go down into Africa, right? Even if I have my wife, that's why he was crying. Even if I have my wife and my children in there, don't go in there. They are already dead. Just go down into Africa. This is what Christ is saying right here. This is what these people who come from the north will do to us, right? Remember, they have no mercy, right? Okay, right? 22, for these be the days of vengeance, that all things that are written may be fulfilled. So it was written that they're gonna do this to us. Remember, read Jeremiah, right? We're gonna go into slavery and ships and sold to our enemy. That have to be fulfilled. So from this time on, all things are being fulfilled, right? Which is called the day of Jacob's trouble, right? Which is called the great tribulation, all the way up to this time, right? 22, but woe to them that are with child and to them that give suck in those days. And yes, you could read in the book of Josephus, in this book right here, in the days of the siege, because the women were in there starving, they start eating their children, killing their children and eating the old children. Yes, Israelite woman was doing that, right? But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for these be the days of vengeance. Wait. Sorry, I got it mixed up. 23 again, but woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people. This people meaning Israelite, right? They're coming with vengeance, because as we read in Revelation over here, they find out that they're cast out, meaning the new world to come, they have no part, and that world was designed for only us, right? They have no part, right? They can barely survive in this one, the one they're fighting for, because they can't even be out there in the sun, right? Okay. 24, and they shall fall by the edge of the sword, the Israelite, right? And they shall be led away captives into all nation, right? So that's the slave trade right there, right? And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles. So what's going to happen when we're in slavery? Remember, Paul tell us, right? Jerusalem and our children are in bondage, right? So when we go off into captivity, the heathens are going to capture our land and trodden it down. This is, let's read 24 again. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall lead away captives into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles fulfill, till their rulership is over. They're going to be there. There was no warning for us to go back there. They're going to be there till their rulership is over, right? So we're going to be in slavery. Our land will be trodden down by the Gentile till their time is over, right? That's what Christ is saying right there, right? Okay. Let's read this. See where, okay, flee to the mountains, right? Let's see where we should flee to, right? From Babylon to Timbuktu, right? Okay. We're going to go to page 84, right? Page 84, right? Here, read it together, right? Page 84, right? Okay, page 84. In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies, the abomination of desolation, under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people, meaning what was left in Jerusalem. Remember, we read they killed them all, right? Okay. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, where Christ tells us to flee to, right? fleeing from white Roman persecution and slavery. The slave market were full of black Jewish slave, right? And the Lord, he's quoting Deuteronomy 28:64 right now, right? And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there shalt thou serve other God, which neither thou nor thy father have known, even wood and stone, right? So wood and stone, the two biggest fake religion today on the planet, right? Christianity and Muslim, right? The wood is that cross everybody want to put around their neck. That's the wood they're serving, right? And the stone is the cobblestone, where everybody going over there into the Middle East or Northeast Africa to bow down to, right? Okay. This prophecy and all the residue of the prophecy contained in Deuteronomy befall, Deuteronomy 28:15-68, befall the black Jews after they disobeyed the laws of God. Many nations transported the Jews into slavery. That's the transatlantic slave trade, right? And the sons of Israel transmigrated to every continent. That's how we get into all places of the planet, right? Okay? Right? Now, this was when these fake Jews finally moved into the land, right? In 1948, right? Around that time, when we have the president of Egypt, right? Gamal Abdel Nasser, right? Was saying these are not the real Jews, because this is what he said, right? On national television, right? Let's read it. When the Jewish settler arrived in Northeast Africa, because that's exactly what it is. There's no place called the Middle East. This is what he said in Northeast Africa. President of Egypt say this, right? From Nazi Germany and elsewhere, Gamal Abdel Nasser, right, had a premonition that they would be as ruthless as their former oppressors. He told the Zionists in speeches on Egyptian television, "You will never be able to live here in peace because you left here black and come back and you have returned white. We cannot accept you." Nasser also referred to the Zionists as the imposter, which they are. The Bible called them imposters too, right? A Jewish woman read the statement and declared Nasser an anti-Semite, right? That's where that word come from, which they use today, which today they say anti-Semitic, right? There's no such word, right? No such word, right? I guess they're trying to say Shemite. Okay, all right. So, right? So this one is going to be part one of this lesson, right? So this is the woman, we read of the woman that go through the pain and who is bringing her pain, right? And that's from 70 AD all the way up to this time, right? And I said this woman pain will be multiplied, right? As I said, in Christ's time, when that first immortal come out of the nation, right, only the babies 2 years and under were slaughtered, right? Now show you how the pain is being multiplied. Now bring it all the way to our present time, which is today, right? 2018, right? Now they're killing the man, the woman, the children, the old man, the young man, and they're killing the babies from the womb. See, our pain is being multiplied, right? Talking about this nation. And when I come back, we're going to do the second part of this lesson. We're going to go into the husband and the wife, what they have gone through, right? And how eventually this husband will rule over this wife, right? So this is the first part of the lesson, right? And as I said, we'll come back with the second part.
I love to see my people living in love. I hate to see them fighting and swimming in blood. Enough neglect the farming, scarring in the mud. Yet they wanna be the first to reap the food as it bud. Oh, them fill the earth with peace and church and whorehouse. Love the rum bar, yet them hate the pure house. Them take the microchip and override the poor out. Less food, more shout and more mouth. Oh, Rasta tell them all the while. Stop war and go till the soil. Stop fighting for land and oil. Feed the coil, so many go defile. Slave master spit in on them face, them take that with a smile. The banks of the Nile, so my land so fertile. Acres more than a zillion mile. People acting vile, pick up cannibal style. One devour mama, papa and child. Oh, so life seed and let it bust her. Them said them think they take too long to grow and start to cuss her. I couldn't trust them when those are so I trust her. Such is life, them say I just heard. I take Kasha Heights, what them call it squatter land. Some say fi government, some say fi motherland. Still no one share, although them got a lot of land. Them want fi turn a gun range and shatter land. Rasta tell them all the while, stop war and go till the side. Stop fighting for land and all. Feed the coil, so many go defile. Slave master spit in on them face, them take that with a smile. The banks of the Nile, so my land so fertile. Acres more than a zillion mile. The people acting vile, pick up cannibal style. One devour mama, papa and child. Politician not talk, certain thing them not mention. Say a drugs and gun, the people tax money spent for. Come with plastic smile and them wicked intention. In your hand, I with them put them evil invention. Turn gun model, seeking attention. See them know you dead and that is no redemption. Parents I wonder where to get the first centrum. To bury the dirt, them not even got pension. Rasta tell them all the while, stop war and go till the side. Stop fighting for land and all. Feed the coil, so many go defile. Slave master spitting on them face, them take that with a smile. The bunks of the Nile, so my land so fertile. Acres more than a zillion mile. The people acting vile, pick up cannibal style. One devour mama, papa and child. Love to see my people living in love. I hate to see them fighting and swimming in blood. Nothing but the farming, scarring in the mud. Yet them wanna be the first to pick the fruit as it bud. Oh, turn the earth in a prison church and whorehouse. Love the rum bar and them hate the pure house.